Let me hang a lampshade on this and call it Sally over here. This episode's probably going to piss some people off. Not because it's controversial in nature, just because some people are set in their ways, they don't like discussing topics, or they just enjoy being offended. I understand that. And if that's you, that's fine. Just go ahead and move along. That's fine. I'm not going to be offended by that at all. Because my goal this week is to try to get you to think. Alright, we got rid of those guys? Alright. Cue credits, we're talking hardcore versus casual.
I've long established myself as an enthusiastic amateur in a lot of the things that I do for fun. Snowboarding, paintball, online gaming. I don't take them as seriously as other people do. Well, not anymore. But anyway, the point is that I've always identified with the casual player for almost all of my life, and I have no intention of doing otherwise. But I also understand there is a hardcore market, gamers who take their game seriously enough to invest a lot of their time and money into their hobby.
Yeah, I said hobby. That's because the professional level of any given sport or activity like this is a very, very small number. So unless you're just that good or you're just that lucky, odds are you're a hobbyist just like the rest of us. The only difference is that mechanically speaking, how things work under the hood, and I'm constantly going to Google and looking up guides.
I'm not going to get into the stereotypes here, even though that would make easy joke material. More to reality, let me simply point out the most recent developer's blog that Blizzard put out. At the time of this recording, Blizzard is slowly letting out some of the mechanical changes to World of Warcraft in the Pandaria expansion. The changes are not set in stone, but it's interesting to see what they're thinking of doing. To my understanding of things, they're getting rid of some stuff, changing other stuff. Mainly in player versus player, they're removing some mechanics, renaming others, and trying to make it so that you don't need two sets of gear to run around the world. They state their goal is making the game more accessible and less scary to jump in from a battleground to a dungeon, for example.
Okay, quick sidebar over here, because I know it's going to come up even if I don't say anything about it. I'm not very much a fan of what they're announcing on the dev blog over here, and it's not even a damage thing anymore. I've come to accept the fact that 30 to 75% of all damage that I do on a battleground is completely meaningless and useless. I'm beyond that. No. It's that they've announced in this expansion they're going to let people start dodging bullets. Not even joking, it's in the dev blog. What gets me in this is I know people wearing t-shirts and blue jeans who can't dodge paintballs, and yet guys wearing 65-pound plate armor, fully encumbered, wearing helms that restrict their vision severely, are going to be able to dodge subsonic rounds? Focus. Focus. This is not the point you are looking for. Focus. The point that I'm getting at is that when you read the dev blog and subsequently you read all the comments underneath the dev blog, it's actually very telling.
As of this recording, the thread is over 135 pages and over 5,000 replies long. Most are negative to the concept, saying they're going to quit, the usual things that we say on reply threads like this. But what got me are a lot of people saying that Blizzard is making World of Warcraft too easy. This is a small sample of posts, but they're not unusual. Some people are disdainful of the casual gamer, stating that they actually bring nothing of value to the MMO experience. Some are implying outright that Blizzard is just catering to the casual gamers, and some are holding the casual gamer for the drop of subscribers in the recent months and claiming that the core users are leaving because of this stance. My favorite are the people who are calling for an outright segregation of casual gamers from the hardcore gamers.
And it was somewhere around the 10th page of this that I suddenly had the epiphany. When you read between the lines, you can kind of see what this is really all about. This has nothing to do with dumbing down the game, it has everything to do with exclusivity.
It's not often you see honest posts like this one, but this is exactly what I'm talking about. There's a feeling of wanting to be elite, wanting recognition for the dedication and hard work that they put into the game from the player's end. And they also feel that they are entitled to this recognition with exclusive gear at the very least, if not exclusive access to some content.
And I'm not taking anything away from the guys who can dedicate that much time and energy to an MMO. If that's you, all power to you. But some of us, we gotta make a living in other ways, and when you're working 12-hour shots and you're barely squeaking by, yeah, that's gonna cut into your MMO playtime, and this is why I'm pretty much just a casual player. But on the bright side, I do like my job. Joey Rue said that I had a really natural screen presence. There's a reason for that.
There's an old phrase, knowledge is power, and this is really what I'm getting at here. So when players say this game is getting too easy, they're really stating that they want the game to be intentionally hard to understand. If everyone gets the mechanics, then it's not so special anymore that they get the mechanics. They want to keep the power of Pwn for themselves, if you will. It's basic elitism in a digital way.
And this is going to be the point where I start pissing people off, because they're either not going to listen, or they're just going to hear what they want to hear and not what I'm actually saying. But this needs to be established, so let's throw it out there anyway. It's this need for exclusiveness that drives hardcore players to do some of the things that they actually do in the game, like try to push out the casual players.
You see this in the battlegrounds or in trade chat all the time in World of Warcraft, and many people just filter it out. But the abusive language, the direct personal attacks, and the screams of L2P or just leave this game are all attempts to get rid of the casual gamer. In other games, the player base actively trolls the new players in an attempt to discourage them from continuing on. I'm saving this for another show, but this is a very, very small sample of what you can see in a few days' time, and the powers that be, they do little, if anything, to curb this behavior. The terms of service are fairly straightforward, and they say this behavior supposedly will not be tolerated, but in reality it goes completely unchecked and unpunished. So why shouldn't people act like this? What I think they want is the game to themselves. In theory, it's a great idea. They don't need to explain the fights, they don't need to explain where people should go in battlegrounds. Everyone will just know what to do, and the game will go much smoother for them. In theory.
Reality is, it doesn't quite work that way, because for a lot of these guys, it's all about individual glory. What's my DPS? How many kills did I get that last game? How many games did I win over the last series? The team really doesn't even enter into it, it's all about individual glory. Now, the thing is that you guys are good at this. There's no debating this. I understand that, but I think your focus is just a little misplaced.
I do admit that I am generalizing here, but most of the hardcore gamers I've seen do want individual recognition. I come back to this post regularly because it's pretty telling of the whole culture, but they seem to want to simply just bask in their own glory and not pass the information along. I see the phrase L2P on the forums and chats quite a lot, and for those of you who aren't fluent in acronym, it stands for Learn to Play. What I take from this is an area of superiority, that it's just beneath the gamer to actually tell you what they apparently already know.
Okay, time out. I know that I said in my adventure review that finding these things out for yourself is half the fun. I stand by that statement, and here's why. In a game like Adventure, exploration is pretty much the point of the game, so having somebody hold your hand takes away a lot of the fun. But when there is an absolute correct way to build a talent tree, to build a character, to do things correctly, this is where you hardcore gamers can really shine, but you're choosing not to.
At the risk of sounding egotistical, I spent many years teaching people how to play paintball. Literally, hours of videos, a book, what feels like hundreds of articles in magazines back in the day when magazines were paper. Anyway, all these things trying to teach people how to play a simple game. And there are lots of people who obtain a level of mastery of paintball but choose not to share their information, and I consider that selfish. Even something as simple as showing somebody how not to chicken wing can turn a crappy day into an awesome day for them. And I'll admit, teaching is a skill. Not everyone can do it, let alone effectively do it, but when you've reached a level of mastery, the ultimate way to show someone how good you are is to teach them the techniques. For what it's worth, many people take the lessons that I give them, change it up a little bit, and I end up learning something new from what they've done with it, and that's the best part. You being good, that's pretty cool. Elevating the collective skill of those around you, awesome.
The only analogy I can think of off the top of my head is the difference between sex and masturbation. Oh yeah, sure, they both make you feel really good, but nobody brags about masturbation.
The overall point here is that the hardcore crowd not only has a place, but the possibility for a greater purpose within their virtual worlds. Yes, it's frustrating when someone doesn't know the fight, but it takes only a minute to teach them the basics so they can get the grasp and they can figure out the rest on their own. Casual and hardcore gamers actually need each other, whether they like it or not. Casual gamers bring a fresh perspective from outside influences, and hardcore gamers bring practical knowledge that saves the casual gamer time floundering. It's a symbiotic relationship, and it'd be a shame to shut one away from the other.
All that being said, I also understand this is probably never going to happen. Look, I'm a realist. I understand how things work. I understand that the difference between an artist and an artiste is not just the emphasis on the wrong syllable. I also understand that a lot of raiding guilds will never let me join with them and see any of the end content because, oh, you're a casual gamer? And before you say that'll never happen, I've had no less than 3 guild invites yanked from me when I told them I was a casual player. But it'd be kind of nice though if it actually could happen that way. Yeah.
Let me go over my situation one more time just for fun. This down here, those are broken bindings, and that's a bad thing. And that right there, that's the hill we're going to try to make it down on broken bindings. This does not bode well.